I no longer feel the need, and you ladies know what I'm doing, men know what I'm talking about, that need to suck it in. Because
that's what you've been saying. You walk around, you're like, I don't have to suck in anymore.
Yeah, right.
And hello my honeys, it's Emmie. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Starch program, where you work with me, a nutrition coach and a mindset coach, to lose weight on a plant-based diet. Also make sure that you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time a fresh video is coming from me, which is every Wednesday and Saturday. And go to healthyemmie.org if you are interested in working with me and my team. Today we are doing the last video in this house.
Before she goes.
Before I move out.
Yeah.
You are also witnessing a moment in history. It's true. You are witnessing the world record for the most self-restraint shown by a person, which is me, because 2 hours ago she dropped a glass jar on my laptop and it cracked.
I said I was sorry.
So today we're just gonna have a candid chat. Everybody's been loving Healthy Mummy, so I figured we would just sit down. We haven't really planned anything, and we would just sort of talk about her journey and where it started and how she's feeling now. And we have Susie here, right, Q?
She won't leave. That's why she's here.
Yeah. Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So, Mom, why don't you start by telling us, when did you first start to notice that, oh my goodness, I've gained a little bit of weight?
Probably over the last few years, I think. Maybe right before I turned 60 and then 60. Yeah, I just didn't feel like myself anymore. Really felt solid and heavy and just big. Yeah, my clothes didn't fit well. I just felt very thick. Just not like myself at all, and just couldn't seem to shake it.
Did you try to shake it?
I did, by exercise and what I thought was healthy eating, and it was really, really frustrating because it would not budge.
Tell me more about that. What were you trying to do?
I thought if I, exercised more, if I restricted some eating, if maybe I just gave up some sweet things, that somehow miraculously my slimmer figure would come back.
And it makes sense. I mean, that's what you hear. Did you try Googling things? I mean, because you had never, this was new to you to feel like this.
Yeah, not particularly. It was at a very busy time in my life, so I really didn't have much time to search. And it was just a lot going on in life, maybe a lot of stressful things. I don't know that I look back. But no, and then, you started your business and started to grow. And that sort of opened my mind a little bit, a little crack, to maybe there was a different way.
You were lucky because you had me, but for these women that don't have me, and like you talked about, it was a very busy time in your life, and what would you say to those women that they just have so much going on, they don't even know where to start to get back on track?
That if they're contemplating your program, it is a very easy program. It definitely works.
I did not tell her to say that.
It's nothing to be afraid of. There's room in it for your life no matter how busy you are. And in the short, because it doesn't take very long, but it really is so worth it because you become such a better person on the other side.
What were you like before in terms of your mental space because of this physical heaviness that you're feeling?
Yeah, not much room for freedom, for lightness, for it just seemed that life was a lot more complex than heavy.
She agrees. You said that you were feeling heavy before.
Yeah.
Do you think that you even realized how you were feeling before with the comparison?
Well, interestingly, I have never been 60 before, and I sort of just assumed that this is what it was going to be like, that's it, you're done. You're older now and heavier and slower, and it's kind of depressing, really. Doesn't really give you much to look forward to. But I'm glad that it's not the way it needs to be. I know that now.
Did you ever find that you sort of started to accept, maybe this is it, and I'm just gonna have to find different clothes and
Oh, definitely. I thought this was it. I thought I'd never feel slim again. And listen, I don't want to look like I'm 20. I'm not trying to go back in time, but I would like to feel as slim and trim and fit as I possibly can. I thought that was over.
What was that like for you? Somebody who had never struggled with weight before. You always were lean and thin and tall and beautiful, and now you weren't feeling that way.
Yeah, it wasn't a good feeling. Helpless. Like I said, it's kind of sad, really, and that there's no way out. And my mother, my grandmother, everyone sort of went down that path of becoming heavier and slower and less active, and I wish that I could get myself out of it.
So now let's fast forward to you. You found yourself in this place, and you started Slim on Starch, and you did Slim on Starch, you did my program, and now you're in this place where you are really thriving. She said to Dad last night, you were like, I can't remember even what the context of the conversation was, but you said to him, you're like, I'm skinny now. And you're walking around and you're like lifting up your shirt, showing me how thin you are. You're feeling yourself and you look great. You really do. And you really do look you really do look very slim.
Yeah.
And I had you lift up your shirt and show me your stomach last night. So if you could do the same right now.
Never gonna happen.
But when you lifted up your shirt last night, I truly was like, wow, that's crazy.
It's amazing.
And you know why my reaction to how your stomach is looking these days is so insane? Because it looks better than what it looked like when I was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the memories we used to, she's had 3 kids, so we should be like, look at your stomach after having 3 kids. And it looks better now than it did 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
Yeah. I no longer feel the need, and you ladies know what I'm talking, men know what I'm talking about, that need to suck it in. Because
that's what you've been saying. You walk around, you're like, I don't have to suck in anymore.
Yeah, right.
And you really do look so good. And I look at you and I'm like, wow, you really do look so good.
Yeah.
So now you're here. You've made it across the finish line.
Yep.
You're feeling light. You're eating all these healthy foods. The hard part is staying here.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So you can't just go back to what you were doing before.
Right.
So there are some questions that people have been asking me about your ability to maintain this, because you've maintained it wonderfully.
Okay.
And some of the questions are, is it work to maintain this? You know, are you tempted to eat other foods? Are you feeling boring with the foods that you're feeling? So how have you, now you've been across the finish line for a while now, about a month or so, you've really been like, I'm good, I got this.
Yeah.
Are you feeling tempted to go back to what you were doing before? And are you tempted to eat other things, et cetera, et cetera?
Not as tempted as I used to be. I would just go right into the temptation, like I said, half the time because I was starving. So, I mean, yeah, I'd like to have some sweet things, some cakes, cookies. But I don't crave them. And I can absolutely watch Dad eat a dessert after dinner, and it's all the man talks about, and not fall prey to it.
Yeah.
Let's say. Yeah.
So I think that what you're getting at here is the difference between eating with intention versus eating out of compulsion.
Yeah.
And in Slim on Starch, what we want to do is make this your foundation, not your religion. So Slim on Starch is your foundation, and it doesn't matter what you do the 10% of the time, it matters what you do the 90% of the time. So I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and she was all nervous because she's going on vacation next weekend. She goes, what do I do on vacation? I go, I don't care what you do on vacation. I care about what you do before vacation, and I care about what you do after vacation. That 5% that you're on vacation is going to get lost in the wash, and you've granted yourself some wiggle room. But before you, she hasn't dug into those foods just yet. She asked me last night, actually, if she could, and I said, let's wait, because I want to make sure that we do it. I always say, the slower you go, the faster you get there. You've nailed the foundation. I want to make sure that we do this in a very sustainable way that allows you to reincorporate this stuff, and you know that you're doing it in a fashion that's going to carry you on for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because she's done this before, where you'll be on, like, you do it, you're on your game, and then like I move to Australia or I go somewhere. Once I
Right.
leave,
Yeah.
that's when things start to unravel. So now that I'm going to be leaving forever, I need to make sure that we take this step by step and
Yeah.
we start to reincorporate things slowly. So why don't we talk about the things that you might want to incorporate moving forward?
Oh, good. That'd be great. I also want to point out that last night when I asked about that is because Dad had made his veg cacciatore and he was putting it on pasta, and I haven't reincorporated that yet. But the key for me is that I had something in the fridge. I had go-to in the fridge, which made all the difference. Otherwise, I would have just scarfed the pasta without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Preparation is the number one determinant of success on my program.
Right.
It's not willpower, character, age, weight, gender, none of those
Right.
things. It's literally whether or not you have food in the
Because when
fridge.
you get home from work at the end of the day and you're tired and you're frustrated,
That's you used to get home from your shift at work at 11 and you would make a bowl of cereal.
yeah, because I was starving. Yeah.
Wow. Well, now you work the 7 to 3 shift, but when you get home at 3 o'clock,
Right.
you're not making. What are you doing at that time?
I come home. I am delighted to have a few hours before dinner to relax. I might make a cup of tea, but I don't come home and eat 8 peanut butter crackers. I'm standing up.
That is so funny. I completely forgot that you used to do that
Yeah.
because she's a nurse, used to work the 3 to 11, and you would get home around midnight and have a bowl of cereal. Let's say you were still working the 3 to 11 shift, and we're gonna touch back on the foods that you want to reincorporate. But I did want to talk about this. Let's say that you still were working that 3 to 11 shift. What would you do if you were to get home at 11 o'clock and you were hungry?
I would probably just have a mini something of what's in the fridge.
A mini meal. That's what we
meal,
always
yeah.
say. People say, "What can I have for a snack? What can I have for?" I go, snacking is removed from the Slim on Starch dictionary. You can eat any portion of food at any time per day. In Asia, they eat rice for breakfast. I have a lot of clients that are from Latina cultures that they say rice and beans for breakfast. That's what I used to do that in my home all the time.
Right.
I get to do that again. And the reason why I talk about that is because you can have any amount of food at any time of day. If it's 4 p.m. and you eat dinner with your family at 6 and you're hungry, have whatever you would have for dinner in a small amount. And then there's some room for you to eat dinner with your family. If you get home from work at 11 o'clock and you're a little bit hungry, have a mini meal. It doesn't have to be a snacky food. It doesn't have to be a midnight snack approved food.
Yeah.
Just eat whatever you would eat as a meal in a smaller amount.
That's that old-fashioned thought process that was drilled in our brains.
Yeah, 3 meals a day with 2 snacks. That's that.
Right.
We used to say growing up, the kitchen is closed. And you couldn't eat anything else. But that was another problem, the fact that I wouldn't eat anything that was on my plate. We're not talking about that right now. But back to my original question of what are the things that you might want to incorporate back in?
Right. Well, pasta.
Pasta. That's
one.
number one.
Number one. And beyond that, I would just be pulling things out of the air. Breads. I don't even know because I really enjoy what I'm eating so much. So whatever you had to suggest, I would appreciate it. But pasta is the number one for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can start. I know that you're going to get your cholesterol tested this month.
Yeah.
What day this month?
I haven't even called yet, but yeah, soon.
Well, I mean, it's dependent upon when you get those results back.
Okay.
When you get those results back, we're going to start with pasta, and I'm going to tell you how many times per week you can incorporate pasta back in. We're going to take your weight before you do that,
All right.
and then 1 month later, after you incorporate pasta X times per week, depending upon what I see with your cholesterol results, we're going to take your weight again.
Okay.
And we're going to see how much it's changed.
Yep.
If you're comfortable with that amount, it might be down, it might be up, but if it's within a 2 to 3 pound range of where it was last time, then I think we're okay to have that be your threshold.
Okay.
So that'll be the case for pasta, dependent upon what I see with your results of the cholesterol.
All right.
Now, here's what I want to talk to you about. You're the nicest person on the face of the earth, and it can be hard for you to turn things down from people.
Right.
So with moving forward, I know that you've been able to use me as an excuse lately.
Yeah.
Emmie I'm doing her Slim on Starch program.
Yeah.
So what are you going to say to people moving forward?
I was thinking about this last night. It's funny you should ask. When I belong to this group, and when we have meetings, I'm like the popcorn maniac. And I was thinking last night, I really don't feel like eating any popcorn right now anymore. It was really fascinating to me because I love popcorn, and it doesn't really register that what's that dopamine hit that it used to. So I may just be able to pass because I don't really feel like eating it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I have been over a neighbor's house where there's munchies everywhere, and I don't know if I need to physically remove myself, or I really don't know what to do about that. But it's just like a nervous habit, you know, to start picking at it. So that will be an issue with me.
So I think that what's important here is that we don't fly in blind, because you were saying some words that made me a bit nervous. I might be able to pass.
Yeah.
That sounds very like I can't, that's not tangible. That's not enough of a plan for me. So there's two things that I want to talk about here. Three things. The first is never go into these situations vulnerable. And what I mean by vulnerable is hungry. Yeah. Because if you're hungry and you're around Boom Chicka Pop, game over. That entire, I mean,
you're going
to town. You can house that thing. And so you need to make sure that you are you're talk about removing from situations. Nope. I gotta take you out. You need to make sure that you have eaten before you go to those places. For sure. So that's the first thing. You can't go vulnerable. Our brains are designed to think that we're in a famine. And if we are hungry and then there's food in the environment, our primal brain is going to say, well, you're in a famine and there's food here, so you need to go to town on that food. So you need to make sure that you've eaten before you've gone. The second thing is, I always say, replace, don't restrict. So go to these places and don't restrict yourself from that food, but instead replace what you're going to put in your mouth.
Okay.
Another thing you can do is use the hand-to-mouth sort of method, where I think that one of the reasons why you like popcorn is it keeps your mouth busy, and it's the hand-to-mouth motion. So if you bring yourself a seltzer, if you bring yourself a cup of tea, instead of just going like that with the food, you drink instead.
Okay.
That's a tip.
A good trick.
Yeah, that's a tip that I use for a lot of my clients struggle with. While they're prepping their dinner, they're like, by the time I've prepped my dinner, I've eaten the entire thing, because I'm going like the whole time. So I say you have to make yourself a cup of tea or pour yourself a glass of water while you do your food prep. Okay. So that's one of the things that I would suggest to you. You know that you feel better when you, I'm not going to use the word without these foods, when you replace these foods. You feel better when you replace these foods.
Okay.
Am I putting words in your mouth?
No, that seems right on, yeah.
Okay. So what we want to do in this case is not give in to that peer pressure to eat those foods from other people, or be a mind reader and assume that they want you to eat the food because it's there. I think that's a big thing too, is people just assume that, oh, if this food's there, then they want me to eat it. They want me to eat it. So there's a lot of ways we can go with this. The first one is the simplest. It's to remember that no thank you is a full sentence. You don't have to explain yourself to everybody. I think that a lot of times we feel like we have to say to people, no thank you, and it's because, and they're like, I don't want to explain myself. Who said that you have to explain yourself? So that's one thing, is to remember that. Another thing that you can do is kick the rock down the road. So you can say to these people, I know that you've been saying, oh, Em's doing this thing. You could say that to them for the rest of your life, and they would never notice that the 8 weeks you've been doing with me isn't up yet, because people are so concerned with their own lives.
True.
I hate to break it to you, but they really don't care about you. You know, they say, no, there's this meme. It's like, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about me, so it doesn't matter what you do. So that's something you can do. You can just kick the rock down there. Oh, Em's doing this thing, or, you know, I told her I would do her Slim on Starch program. I'm waiting to get my cholesterol tested. Something that I tell my clients to say is, you know, I invested in this program and I promised myself, like, I paid money for it. I promised I'm going to give it a fair shot, but at the end of this program, then I'll probably eat this stuff again. Or I promised myself that until my birthday, I'm going to eat this way, but like, then count me in for the popcorn. Kick the rock down the road, and people are never going to notice. And at the end of the day, people really only care about themselves. Not to mention, you look so good and you're glowing and you're happy and you're light And I think to trade that in for the sake of making people feel comfortable when really at the end of the day they don't care is silly.
Okay.
I was talking with one of my clients, Jessie, who she calls herself an outed oil-free vegan now. And because she told her boyfriend's family, you know, this is the way I eat, this is it. And she was like, it was the best thing that I ever did, because now they're really showing how much they care about me. They are getting her oil-free stuff, and when she comes over, they make her oil-free thing. And she's like, it's so good because I don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, that's my advice on that.
We're as miserable as the secrets we keep, right?
Yeah, secrets keep us sick. And put yourself first, you know. Don't try, this isn't speaking to you, but to the general population, of for the sake of making somebody feel comfortable for 5 minutes, you're making yourself feel uncomfortable for a lifetime of being overweight and suffering diseases of dietary excess because you didn't want your aunt to feel uncomfortable because you didn't eat her pigs in a blanket. So kick the rock down the road. Are there any other things that you're struggling with or want some guidance on that I can help you with?
No, I think those things really, when other people's feelings are involved, that's my trigger.
I think that you're trying to be a mind reader too.
Yeah.
You know, honesty. Oh, I wanted to say this as well. Honesty is so undervalued. If you literally say to somebody, this is so tough for me because I don't want you to feel bad. This has nothing to do with you. Like, this is so hard for me because I know that I feel so good eating these foods. If you say that to them, they'll go, oh my God, no, it's totally fine. If you don't want it, these are all these people you go to the meeting with, those girls, those are your friends, you know?
Right, true.
And so they would never want you to feel uncomfortable. And I think that we so undervalue just being honest and saying like, listen, this is hard for me because I'm a people pleaser. And if you say that to your friends or your family, they're going to go, oh my God, why didn't you tell me? Like, this is fine. I'll bring veggies. I'll bring fruit for you next time. Then you talk about it once and then they know. And then next time, they're going to bring fruit for you. They're going to stop. They keep bringing popcorn because you keep eating the popcorn.
Right,
You're training them to bring the popcorn for you. So if you just have one conversation, you literally say, like, this is even hard. I'm uncomfortable saying this right now. But I just can't with the popcorn. And if anybody's going to understand, like, enabling and triggering and substance and all that, it's those girls. So we undervalue honesty and just being straight up. It's so funny how we don't even think, oh, why don't I just tell them exactly what's going on? The worst that can happen is better than what you're doing now. Because what you're doing now, you feel uncomfortable and you're going to keep feeling uncomfortable forever. But if you use one of those instances to have one conversation, then you're going to be 1,000% comfortable for the rest of the time.
It's great.
And how much easier it'll make it for the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's great. I honestly never thought of it that way.
To be honest.
Well, no, in that situation, because I was always just brought up to respect what people have placed in front of you and eat it. It's just the way it was.
Yeah. This was something that used to be hard for me too. And then I decided, speaking to relationships, for example, I know that a lot of girls my age or women who are dating struggle with this. They're like, oh, I don't want to be weird when, like, I go on the date and I'm not eating meat or whatever it is. I don't want to seem weird. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be 1,000% me. This is the way that I eat. I don't drink alcohol. And if they don't love me for that, then they're not the person for me. I'm just going to be 1,000% myself because sooner or later, it's going to come out. The way that I eat is going to come out. The fact that I don't drink alcohol, it's going to come out unless I want to live a lie for the rest of my life. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be myself, 1,000% unapologetically myself. And now I have somebody who like loves me so much for it and thinks that I'm so strong-willed for it and, you know, all of this stuff.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's fabulous. And his family is so beyond respectful of it because from the get-go, I was like, this is who I am. And if somebody doesn't love me for it, then they're not the person for me. And so I wanted to speak to that as well.
That's great.
So thanks, Mom.
You're welcome, Em. This is it.
I know! The next video we do will be in my new house.
I know. It's very exciting.
That is so fun.
Very exciting.
All right. Well, thank you for watching.
I hope it helps.
We'll see you in the next one.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.